twinsies today in the
I
same cuddled, soft
know.
color. Our hair to the side. I'm always a hair to the side person.
Me too. I've never been down the middle person.
I'm me either. I'm an asymmetry all the way type girl.
And it can go either way. Like
Exactly.
when you go get your haircut, they're like, well, which side do you like parting? And I'm like, it doesn't matter.
What the heck are we
I go
talking
both
about
ways.
today? Asymmetry. How balance sometimes doesn't look like balance.
As I say, we didn't talk about what we wanted to talk about. I'm open to talking about anything as always. And I'm open to being vulnerable if you wanted to go there and talk about, what happens when you set goals and, you shoot, the whole like aim for the moon, you'll still hit the stars kind of thing. But what happens when you set goals and then you don't knock it out of the park? Because I just closed registration on my parenting program and I didn't get that many people. Right.
So that's normal. I've had that experience many times over the course of my career, many times.
Yeah. So I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that because it's like,
yeah,
it's real. It's like the real deal. It's like we go up to the plate and we plan, to knock it out of the park. And there are going to be times when it's not the experience that we kind of had envisioned. And how do we pivot and shift and take it as the opportunity that it always is?
Yeah, absolutely. It also applies, by the way, not just to entrepreneurial pursuits.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, you and I create online education and we create classes and we offer our services and stuff like that. So, of course, it applies to entrepreneurs and business owners and social media people and personal brands and all that crap. But it really does apply to any goal that we set because I feel like it comes back to the very basic expectation versus commitment matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is when we have expectation about an outcome that is outside of ourselves and what we can control, then we are set up for disappointment or resentment, whatever, whether it's with a person or an outcome. So when we're committed to, I'm going to put myself out there, I'm committed to courage. So no matter how many people sign up for your parenting program, no matter how many people do a sample session with me or whatever, it's all good because I'm out there and that's what my success is. Mm-hmm. That's taken a long time for me to really rest in that, but like to not take outcomes personally in the work and realm in this realm. But it's I don't know, I could go on and on about this. It's such a beautiful feeling when you really are like, no, this is good. It's just a matter of time. And if something shows itself, I'm going to cut myself off. So go ahead.
Yeah, no. I mean, I love you. We're so on the same page with it. And like, yeah, there was like, I woke up this morning and there was disappointment, right? Because I had a goal and I didn't reach that goal. I have a smaller group than I had kind of said, okay. And, I know all the manifesting stuff. Like I know, okay, I'll write it down. I released all my, I tried to release all of my fear and resistance around, like my goal was 15 people, right? And so I was like, all right, is there part of me that maybe subconsciously doesn't feel like I could really be of highest service to 15 this time around? Let me like make sure I'm really, rooting that out and like addressing that. Okay. And so I did all that work and I was like, no, like 15 is my goal. Like, I really feel like it's first time around, I can show up and be of highest service to 15 people. And that's what I decided to cap it at. And so this morning when I woke up, because I went to bed, because I was like, all right, I'm closing at midnight. I took this marketing class and this sales class, because this is marketing and sales is not my expertise.
Well, that's the entrepreneurial dilemma, is that we're the talent in terms of what we do. Like when I get on the phone with somebody and work with them one-on-one and help them address their fear and understand.
You're in your sweet spot. Yeah.
I 100%, my confidence is through the roof. I am 100% with them. It's awesome. So it's like, the process of learning how to be a marketer and
marketing your
writer
too is harder than when I was at companies. Marketing companies, first of all, you had resources, right? Like, you had a budget, which is awesome. And you had a team and you had you had already kind of this momentum, and it was much easier to let that flow, I found, than marketing myself and this right?
Yeah.
So all of that, it's all good. It's all true. And so I took this course, which basically told me, held my hand through every step of this process of like the perfect email campaign. And then how do you, all of it, the stuff, because I would never have sent 8 emails, right? Like that's just, I would have been like, no. And so I did all that stuff and I was like, okay, I'm closing at midnight, and I went to sleep. And I was like, well, I only have a small group right now, and who knows, maybe in that last hour, people will. And so I woke up and I was like, no, we're still at that same number. And I was like, okay, disappointment, hold space for it. It's real.
Mm-hmm.
And then do all the stuff that I know to do, like look at the bright side, because there are just as many bright sides to having a smaller group as to if I had had the bigger group. So it's all good. And it was extremely uncomfortable,
Yeah.
extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting, and this is something that I think this is very much directed at the entrepreneurial, promotional part of getting results, is that it brings me back to the 10 years. You know that whole comment about it's an overnight success takes 10 years.
Yes.
So people are like, oh my God, they came out of fucking nowhere. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. Which the reason I bring that up is that we have, and for me, I've had this experience of you have to, and I say you, and I mean you general, you have to earn trust over time. This is your first foray into a parenting program. Yeah, you're a badass parent. You're a badass coach. Like you are a badass person and human being. So you have trust at a certain level, but you really don't have trust as a parenting coach yet.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
it really does, and nor do you have saturation on the marketing side of things, that you haven't been out there as marketing this for many.
Like
for a
6
long,
weeks
long time.
ago, there was not a
Yeah.
peep that I was even doing this. So
Yeah,
it's
the
all
fact
true.
that
And they say like 15 to 30 touches, like all that
Totally.
stuff. It's totally true.
Yeah.
And, I
Yeah.
had West Village parents. So I was like, okay, I'm known in that community for all those years. Like there were a lot of things that like, I knew all that. I was like, and it was reasonable. I mean, 15 people. It's like, it was
Yeah.
reasonable. So it was like all that. And so like all that is definitely true. And I'm like, this is the first time that I'm marketing myself, marketing a program. I have so much to learn about marketing. I have so much to learn about delivering the program.
Sure.
And yes, all those things.
Well, and I make a subtle distinction around, yes, you are known in that community and trusted in that community as a person, and you're not known and trusted in this role. You're just
Right.
not. You were, it was more of an event organizer before, right? Like a social glue type person.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, although I will say that over the last couple years, I haven't been as active, but for the first 7 or so years,
Yep.
there was a lot of coaching. Kind of
Okay.
just people would ask questions and,
Okay.
my son got bit today at school, and you just kind of chime in and support. So it was actually, it's a beautiful kind of like sprouting of, because at that time, all those years ago, I had no visibility on what I would end up being. I mean, all those years I was a business person, like an executive, like C-suite executive kind of person.
Yeah.
So yeah. So, I mean, all of this, it's like, it's all like, yes. And it's all good, holding space for it. I'm super, super excited to like dive in and serve my people, like my smaller people, but my people, like, and have more flexibility and be able to give them more one-on-one support and figure out, the best ways to really deliver the content of the program. So I'm super psyched.
Yeah.
And waking up this morning was like, all right. I was like, okay.
Is there more about like, do you have attachment to success in the future? Do you think this indicates your ability to succeed?
No, I definitely am with you on all the things that you've said about, all the reality of being known for a particular skill set and expertise, having people see you that way. Also understanding the market. I mean, there's such a big kind of unknown around like, well, what is the best way to actually serve this market?
Right.
Is it an online group? Is it like, there's a lot of different possibilities. So there's still so much learning around the best way to be of service, which is, you and I talk about this all the time, like whether it's improving our public speaking, improving our writing, improving our ability to kind of communicate and be of service and land and be, be of service. So all of that, it's like, there's so much opportunity. And I definitely, which is super exciting, feel so in alignment about Peace Power Parenting, that like the program and the idea, it is meant to sprout into something, and whether that ends up being a book or ends up being workshop, like I have no idea. It could be workshops instead of online. Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know yet. And I'm going to learn a lot by being of service to this group of people.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn, and I'm going to keep iterating, my way to awesome, and letting it grow. Like a plant doesn't grow in a straight line, right?
Yeah.
Branches and back to do.
It's funny. It brings me back to the idea of humility in the process, and how the process of growth and expansion and engaging the organic nature of life and everything sounds kind of big and weird, but like it's humbling all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, I make the ego jokes all the time, but that's because I feel this real deep humility in what I do and how I might be able to serve people. I don't know if I can serve people, if someone's going to be helped by me. I always really, that humility is such a baseline.
Yeah.
It keeps me like totally cool with whether I'm right for someone or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it so helps me have like this base calm around putting myself out there continuously. I'm not even at the 10-year mark. You know what I mean? It's funny. I think about this often, going back to the 10 years to an overnight success, is that I'm like, okay, I'm about 9 years in. I'm getting there. I'm almost there. So, like that, again, it's another thing that supports me to go, like, if ever I'm like, oh, I should be having a certain or different version of success or level of success, whatever that means to anybody, that word is defined very differently for each person, and myself as well. So yeah, I think back to the skydiving, because that's obviously where I have the most success in my career, and what obviously I've been building my life coaching career on top of, because of all of the lessons I learned and everything in that part of my career. And it's like, when I was running events and doing the marketing, I wasn't a fucking marketer. I didn't go to school for that.
Right.
I just was thrown into the position and loved it and learned as I went. But one of the things that really helped me with the events, and I'm sure I've said this here before, but I feel like always worth reiterating, is that in order to disconnect from the outcome and not bring a bunch of tension and fucking limit my radiance and my bright, beautiful love and joy of skydiving, I basically was like, whoever fucking comes to my events, our events, our team, it's not mine, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whoever comes is going to have the best time of their lives.
Yeah.
Period. It could be 2 fucking people or 200 people. Yeah. Whoever comes is going to have the best time of their lives, because I believe that if those 2 people that come have the best time of their lives, they're going to go out and tell people and be like, dude, went to this event that Melanie Curtis was a part of, and shit, we had fun. Damn, I learned a lot. Wow, it was so welcoming. Whatever.
Yeah. No, it's great. There's so much power in all of this, and walking the walk, not just talking the talk, right?
I'm proud of you, girl.
The humble, like be vulnerable, be like, all right. And just hold space for it, right? Because old Pam would have been like, no, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Right. And I wouldn't have like held space for like, no, I'm disappointed. It's like,
totally.
It is. I'm still human. I still have that. Right.
Totally.
I'm not like I'm a human being still.
Love it.
As long as I'm here, still a human being. So hold space for it and be like, that's cool. And now what? Like, and this is what I say to my kids all the time. It's like, yeah, this hurts. And now what? Like, and you're okay. So like, and now what? Like, because I was raised in the, oh, you're fine. Oh, it's fine.
Right.
And that like invalidates and cuts off. Be like, no, it does sting. And that stinging is teaching me something.
Exactly.
Awesome. Like I need to learn to get better at X, Y, Z, or I needed to have a smaller group this time around so I could get better at X, Y, Z. Like whatever, I don't know yet what the real purpose of it all is. And you and I both know that I have like the deepest faith and surrender that like, is this the situation? Then that's exactly what I needed. I may not understand it, may not make any sense, but it's exactly what I needed.
100%.
So get right back to gratitude and hustle. Gratitude and hustle. Gratitude.
Yeah, the faith of it is legit.
Mm-hmm.
Legit. It's just so, that's the thing about doing anything, about life at all, emotions, fear, growth, contribution, whatever it is that we're doing, it's so complex that it's I would never want people to be in life, you know what I mean? Like, and think that they're going to get it right every single moment of every single day. If that meaning, like, if people look at having feelings or upset as something, some kind of failure or something, which I used to
to too.
really upset, like we call it the magnifying glass of self-judgment. So I talk to my clients about this a lot, in that we often will have a human emotion, we'll have a response, which is totally normal and understandable, and also not the end of the world, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's easy to honor it, process it, and then decide forward. But I think a lot of people really don't have that skill set. They think, and then they get stuck around, I shouldn't even be feeling this way.
What's wrong with me?
Way
What's wrong with me
is a failure. I'm fucking it up even more. See?
Yeah.
Look at how sucky I am. Look at how I'm screwing up even more.
And then you get stuck.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't know if we've had this conversation, but I remember the moment that I had that epiphany, because I had this great spiritual coach who was hands down like the best therapist I ever had. She wasn't technically a therapist, and she just could it was magical.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a tough thing with my husband, and I was stuck, and I was doing that to myself. Like, why can't I be grateful? Why can't I be happy? Why am I letting this bother me so much?
Yeah.
What's wrong with me? Invalidating the feeling, which shuts you down. And she was great. She had this whole thing, which I'm like, you're like this too. And I'm like this. I'm like, call me right away. Like, in the moment, like, if you're stuck, call me right then, or text me right then. And so I spoke to her right in that moment, and she was like, hold on. And she pointed out to me that, like, it was okay that I was upset. I could be upset and still be loving of life and loving of my family and show up. And that is actually loving myself, is that whatever I'm feeling was completely valid and important to hold space for.
Yeah.
And as soon as she said that, I was like, I was such a huge epiphany. I could breathe.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, you're right. I can be sad and be loving at the same time. I didn't realize that, like, I could be sad and grateful.
Yeah.
And then that's what empowered me to move forward, right?
Definitely.
It's
Yeah.
magic.
Feelings, the whole concept of feelings as feelings are not failure. I say that all the time. And it speaks to, like, the perfectionist side of me. And, like, a lot of the people that I work with are those type A perfectionists, have their shit all together, such that when they find themselves not together, whatever that means to them, then they're like, fuck, I need some help. Like, that's speaking to that perfectionist, like, a huge part of me being able to grow past the magnifying glass of that self-judgment, of that, like, ramping down into, you know, a worse state once I was having feelings, was really definitely being, like, super committed to not holding myself to a perfectionist standard in terms of feelings.
Yeah.
Because I'm a sensitive motherfucker.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm like, and I'm glad for that. Like, I will own it as long as the frickin' whatever metaphor you want to use. I will own it. I am a very sensitive person, and I actually love that about myself. I used to curse it because it feels
like a burden.
So harsh sometimes. Yeah. You know, but in thinking about that, and, like, being able to have this depth of emotion that is able to reach people and be with them at a deeper place, like, in terms of my coaching work, I would never trade that part of myself. And I accept the pain of being a emotionally sensitive being, you know, such that I can do this work at a deeper level. I'm truly grateful. And so, and when I find my sensitivity and my emotional charges getting in the way of of ways I want to be better, more conscious, or whatever, that's the part where I'm like, okay, this is the part where I actually do want to do a little bit of work. I want to acknowledge the feeling and I want to choose forward from it, and not let this fear or insecurity be my driving choice, but rather say, okay, there's the insecurity or there's the fear that, whatever.
Whatever the pain
Yeah.
point is, like, right. Because there's always a
Yeah.
pain point that our fear, like for me, like my pain points, the fears around the pain points this morning, it's like, am I good enough? Right. Always, right. Like, am I good enough? And remembering how there's that narrative in my head and that kind of wired of, even though I know now to work towards having this kind of inside out worthiness.
Yep.
My brain is still very much wired from 40 years of being human for
Totally.
this outside in, right?
Yep.
So that's one. And then the other, security, because ultimately I do need to start making money, have a viable business that is sustainable, that supports itself and is growing, right? The sustainable business aspect.
Yep.
And I don't know if we've shared on this before, but this is a relatively new venture for me. A full year ago, it's been a full year now. Up until a year ago in January, I was running a company. So I had a role, a job, right? I had a job.
At a different company, not your company.
Yeah, no.
Now you're running your company for the last year. Yeah.
And so since January of last year, I left and started this new venture, not really being clear on like what exactly it was going to be and how I was going to be of service, AKA no real business strategy, right?
AKA the most normal way people get into business. Like,
AKA being like, what am I doing? Exactly.
When new coaches come and ask me about that, I feel like that's a common block limiting thought when people are starting, is that they think they need to have it all figured out and they can't start, or they are in some way going to fail because they're not clear on the idea. And it is super rare in my experience that people are 100% clear from the onset. That clarity only comes through experience and action. So I encourage, the fact that you went for it anyway screams, that's how and why.
I've been of service, right? So like I've been of service over the last year. So that feels really good. It feels organic. I just didn't have clarity in terms of like from a niche perspective, which
totally
looking for a business, strategy, having some sort of really clear niche, what they say, like the blue ocean kind of thing. You want to have a lane that you can really kind of own. I had none of that. I was like, I don't really, I don't know. Yeah. So this is all relatively new for me. So it's all super good and vulnerable, and those fears of not being good enough, the fear of the security that like this needs to be something, like that's what's playing in my head, that's kind of triggering that discomfort. And then I know how to hold space for that and be like, I understand that you feel that way, Pam. This is me and my like multiple personality. We talk to myself, but it's like you can hold space for it and then be like, and that's not true. And that you were brave, that you were like walking the walk, that you put yourself out there, that this is all learning opportunity, and that success doesn't come overnight.
Yeah.
And so then that discomfort passes. It doesn't completely go away. It keeps bubbling up, and then you have to do the work again. And it's all good.
Well, it's like you said, you've got 40 years of practice doing it the other way.
Yeah.
Or 39, whatever it is, or until you were conscious, maybe it's 35, whatever. The whole point is, I say this to clients all the time who have those high expectations of themselves, that perfectionist and just high achiever way of being, that a lot of people think that they have an aha moment and they have some new clarity around how they want to be, what they want to do, how they want to respond in a certain situation to a loved one, or how they want to show up or feel around their business or family or whatever. And then they have the experience that's the same as they've always had. And they're like, fuck, like I should totally have and it's this like crazy intense.
Yeah.
Like, holding themselves to a standard. And I'm like, dude, it's like you literally, it's like, I do the skydiving metaphor a lot. So people, if I'm working with skydivers, I'm like, it's like you're a brand new skydiver. Like you wouldn't expect yourself to be doing like high level 4-way. You can barely do a 360 for fuck's sake. Like this is new for you. You have 40 fucking years of practice doing it the old way. And I say that meaning that unconscious pattern or limiting thought that's been digging a neural pathway for all those decades, that shit's going to take some time to reform. And so giving ourselves patience for that is super, super useful.
Yeah. It's like basically treating ourselves like we would hopefully treat our child, gently, patient, be like, all right, you're not all there yet, you're not going to be all there yet. And it's all
Totally.
good. And as human beings, I honestly don't think that we're ever kind of all there. I mean, it's like, I joke that like maybe someday I'll be a Zen master, but that probably is when I die. Like, it's probably like when you're like, that's like, okay, I'm leaving my body. I'm ready now. Like I got this being human thing down.
Yeah.
So the reality of being human is that you have a brain and a body and you have to figure out how to use it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a tool. Like the way I look at it, it's like being human is like we were blessed with this amazing technology that we get to like use on this plane to make things beautiful, right? Hopefully. And either we're good at it or we're not so good at it. And then we're getting better at it and we just show up.
I love it. So funny. I laugh about the Zen master thing because I'm like, I'm like, I don't even know if I'd want to be that. Like, wouldn't that be super boring? Like,
no, I can tell you that I've tasted it enough. It's so good, Mel. It's so good. Cause it's like, no, seriously. Cause like in that moment you are so infused with so much light and love.
I'm really just
so much light and love.
From a humanity standpoint.
I know.
Like,
but I love that you say it because it's a common misconception that like peace is boring or that peace is you're just sitting there doing nothing, when actually it's the opposite, that you're unblocking limitless power.
Aliveness is exactly. No, I'm with you. I'm more just kind of kidding a little bit around that, just because for people who who haven't maybe touched that yet, you know what I mean? Like there's sort of I think there's a perception of it, like you said, that is commonplace.
Yeah, which is why it's one of my favorite quotes, like the Pope said, was that, peace is a proactive, dynamic state.
Yeah.
You're not just like, and my dad and I talk about this a lot, and he asked me once, he's like, well, like literally you should just go sit in a cave and meditate. I'm like, no, no. So yeah, it's awesome. It's all good.
It's awesome. Well, girl, I love it. This is cool. I feel like this is a fun conversation.
Well, I'm grateful for you and your support, holding space for my, trials and tribulations. And, I want to share this stuff openly because I really think it's of service. Like, no, the road is not, you go up and you give it your all. And then, it may take 8 iterations before you, reach the goal. And that's okay.
Oh, yeah. 10 years to an overnight success, baby.
Yep.
This has gotta be good life. This has gotta be